Welcome to Live Labs. This lab is going to show you how to leverage the Oracle Autonomous Database and the Oracle Cloud to create a simple cloud-native application. My name is John Russell and I'm a product manager for Oracle Database. I'm going to take you through this workshop today. Let's get started. Lab 1. You're going to use Oracle Cloud Shell to be able to directly use the command line interface, CLI, to work in your tenancy, which is already installed and ready for use. Click the Cloud Shell icon in the top right hand corner of the console and copy the git command and paste it to the command line. Same with the changing of directories to mtdr workshop. This will be the working directory for this lab and where all the lab scripts will be available. Next, change the executables mode to add execute for the scripts. This next task, you will create the compartment for your environment and an Oracle Kubernetes cluster. Navigate from the hamburger menu to Identity and Security to Compartments. Click on Create New Compartment, fill in the name mtdr workshop and description of the my-to-do React workshop compartment. Click on the compartment name to get the details and click on Copy by the OCID so you can save this off to your environment variables for the lab in the Cloud Shell. In the Cloud Shell, run setCompartmentID.sh and use the compartment ID you just copied as the first argument of the script and then the region ID. Next, from the main Cloud menu or hamburger menu, click on Developer Services and click on Kubernetes Cluster, OKE. Make sure you're in the compartment for the lab and click Create Cluster. Use Quick Create, which will set up the needed networks and gateways based on information in your tenancy provided. Change the name of the cluster to mtdr workshop cluster. Click on Create Cluster and the resources will be allocated. You can close this window now that the Create is launched. While this is creating, you can set up the database user and object. From the hamburger menu, go to Oracle Database and click on Autonomous Transaction Processing. Make the database display and name to mtdrdb. Click on Transaction Processing and Shared Infrastructure. Enter an admin password that you will need to remember for later. And select Secure Access from Everywhere for network access. And bring your own license. Create Autonomous Database. Select the database by clicking on the name. The details of the database will appear and you will want to copy the OCID for the database to add to your environment variables. In the Cloud Shell, enter export dbOCID equals and then the copied OCID. Then copy and paste the next command into the Cloud Shell. The wallet is needed for database connections, so you will be able to use the environment to set up the database TNS name to connect via SQL utility in Cloud Shell. First connect to the database, you will need to use the admin user and password you created the database with. Then, once you create another user, you can switch over the account. Copy the commands and paste into SQL and run the create the to-do user and grant permission. Now log into the to-do user and create a table to-do item. You're going to insert one record, commit, and then exit. To create the OCI registry, again go to Developer Services from the main Cloud menu and click on Container Registry. Take note of the namespace and make sure you're in the correct compartment. Click on Create Repository verify the right compartment, and enter the repository name. Make sure that the access you set to public and click Create Repository. Again, back in Cloud Shell, run add OCI info.sh with the namespace and repository as arguments. Next, you want to go to your profile in the right-hand corner and click on User Settings. On the left side of the menu, click on Auth Tokens and click on Generate Token. In the description, type MTDR Workshop Token and click on Generate Token. You can copy the token even while being generated, and in Cloud Shell execute the script docker login.sh username and in quotes the copied auth ID OCID. Next, enter Docker images in the command line. You will set up a few more environment variables by copying from the instructions and pasting into the Cloud Shell. And then execute install graalvm.sh. By now, the OKE cluster has been provisioned, and you will need to get the cluster ID from it by copying the OCID from the cluster details. Run verify OKE and create kubeconfig.sh in the Cloud Shell. You should show that the cluster is running and ready. The last task in this lab is to configure the network security rules. From the hamburger menu, click on Developer Services and click on Kubernetes Clusters, OKE. Click on the name of the cluster, MTDR Workshop Cluster. Click on VCN with the name of OKE-SVC LB subset-quick-MTDR Workshop Cluster. And then click on the security list. You're going to add an ingress rule and set the source CIDR to 0.0.0.0/0. Finally, add an egress rule with the destination CIDR of 0.0.0.0/0. The environment is installed and configured, and you are ready to set up the Java items. Lab 2. You will need to set up the environment variables in the Cloud Shell to run through the next steps. You can copy the instructions and paste them into Cloud Shell. You will build the Docker images to the OCI registry. You will edit the application.yaml with the service name of database mtdrdb2_tp and the password for the to-do user. Save this file and then edit the main.java to make sure your region is set up correctly. Now you can build and deploy the image. After the build, make sure the registry is set to public and then run deploy.sh. You can verify that the build and deploy was successful with the next couple of commands in the Cloud Shell. And with the curl command, you can test the connection to the database, where you can now see the record that was inserted at the time of the creation. In the Cloud menu, click on Developer Services and click on Gateways. You're going to create an API gateway. So, click on the Create Gateway and enter To-Do List as the name. Make sure the right compartment is selected and you will see the correct VCN network and subnets to choose from. Click on Create Gateway. Copy the OCID of the gateway and add this to your environment variables in the Cloud Shell. From the left side menu, click on Deployments and click on Create Deployment. Select from scratch and enter To-Do List as the name and / as the path prefix and verify the compartment. Click on Add CORS and configure CORS policies with the allowed origins. Replace the region by your region ID and use the external IP of your Kubernetes cluster. Configure the headers by using content type and location and age in seconds set to 0. Now click Apply Changes. Next, configure two routes, /to-do-list and /to-do-list / open brace ID close brace. Next, and then click Create. You'll be able to test the API Gateway endpoint with the /to-do list and see the one record you've already configured. Lab 3, Front End. There are two sets of instructions here, one for the Mac and one for Windows deployment. As you're going through the instructions, be sure that you're using the right set of instructions based on the machine type you're working from. First, you want to set up this development environment, and you will need administrator rights of your cloud tenancy to be able to complete this. For Mac, from a terminal window, make sure npm command is installed. Also, you want the latest version of Go and have it installed. And you will need Git for your repository. To create the React app, you clone the Git repository to your laptop and navigate to the front-end directory. You can run the commands in the instructions to install the needed packages. Next, you're going to start the app, npm start, and then open the application in your browser, http://localhost:3000 to view it. Stop the running of npm with a Control-C and execute npm run build in the command line in the terminal. Now back in the cloud environment, and to host in the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, you're going to put values in object storage. Navigate from the hamburger menu to Storage and click on Buckets. Click Create Bucket and enter mtdr workshop for the name and click Create. You need to edit the visibility of the bucket to public. From your computer, you need to install the Stacy utility for copying directories to the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Copy the get command and paste on either a terminal window for Mac or command prompt for Windows. This will include navigating to the directories you've installed Stacy and allow you to build the app and upload a static build to the OCI storage bucket. Once you complete that, you'll be able to build the application from your bucket. You will have the URL for the object path and you can run that from your browser. You now have a React application for a My To-Do list. First, you want to set up this development environment, and you will need administrator rights of your cloud tenancy to be able to complete this. For Windows, from a command window, make sure the npm command is installed. Also, you want the latest version of Go and have it installed, and you will need a Git for your repository. To create the React app, you clone the Git repository to your laptop and navigate to the front-end directory. You can run the commands in the instructions to install the needed packages. Next, you're going to start the app, npm start, and then open the application in your browser, http://localhost:3000 to view it. Stop the running of npm with a Ctrl+C and execute npm run build on the command line. Now back in the cloud environment, and to host in the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, you're going to put values in object storage. Click Create Bucket and enter mtdr workshop for the name and click Create. You need to edit the visibility of the bucket to public. From your computer, you need to install the Stacy utility for copying directories to the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Copy the get command and paste on either a terminal window for Mac or command prompt for Windows. This will include navigating to the directories you've installed Stacy and allow you to build the app and upload a static build to the OCI storage bucket. Once you complete that, you'll be able to build the application from your bucket. You will have the URL for the object path and you can run that from your browser. You now have a React application for a My To-Do list. To learn more, go to the bit.ly on your screen and access this workshop and other workshops to help you develop solutions on Oracle's cloud. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in another live lab.